Welcome to another episode of Operation American Dream. I'm your host, Amy Scruggs. This show is about our great nation and the incredible men and women that fight for this country. We talk to active duty, we talk to military, family. I love the resources that come in here to help make a difference in the lives of our heroes and all of us that try to support our heroes. We've got a great show lined up today. We've got a surprise repeat guest. We're going to talk about VA homeownership as well as brain injury, and we're going to go ahead and get started with Operation American Dream. Welcome back to Operation American Dream. This is going to be a fun segment right now. Coming to us from Austin, Texas, I have got incredible motivational speaker, Floyd McLendon, who is also a former retired U.S. Navy SEAL and has written an incredible book, Hard Lessons Learned. Welcome to the show. Great to meet you finally, Floyd.
Well, thank you for having me, Amy.
This is so great to finally get to talk to you. First of all, retired Navy SEAL, give me a little bit of your background.
Well, I just retired after 25 years in the United States Navy. 15 years of that, I was a U.S. Navy SEAL. And the last 8 years in continuing to be operationally ready, I was a motivational speaker for the Naval Special Warfare community. So I traveled nationwide and I spoke to high schools, colleges, education counselors on the diversity that Naval Special Warfare had to offer. And then also, too, some of the mental toughness techniques that we use in order to get through some of the stressful times.
Wow, talk about being used in an incredible way, right? That is so wonderful. Thank you for your service. Really appreciate that.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Throughout that last 8 years of speaking, what I learned, and also being an instructor, I was an explosives instructor. And I was able to touch the young men coming through who wanted to be Navy SEALs. And I just saw that there was a need for our young men to be introduced to character, integrity, the soft skills that tend to be lost as our generations are growing up. So that motivated me to continue to be a motivational speaker, and then also use the platform of an author outside of my military career. I still want to serve, and I believe that it's just a continuation of what I've done so far.
Floyd, with all of this incredible experience and your time working so greatly with the military and veteran community, I'm sure in all of your speaking and even in the private sector talking to students, you've put this new book together that's just released on Amazon. Please tell us what's in that book and what of your heart you put into that.
Hard-Earned Lessons is just a small snapshot of the lessons that I learned from the time that I was a young boy up until now. I think it was very important for me to put out some type of platform to where people could turn the pages and see exactly who I was and who they were going to interact with. And that's exactly what you're going to get. I didn't grow up knowing that I was going to be a Navy SEAL. So it was something that I grew into. And the lessons that I learned beforehand and throughout the process, and then also afterwards, like that was a part of me. So things just kind of came together of me being here today.
You were also originally pursuing a professional basketball career.
That is correct. And I was on track. My plan was to make it to the NBA by the time I was 30. The process that I planned and written out for myself, I was actually on track until I ran across wanting to be a Navy SEAL, and I completely threw that to the side and fully committed to my past career.
And I know you probably touched some on adversity through discrimination and other things that came at you through all of those years of your journey.
Absolutely. I mean, that's adversity is that's paramount for success. So if you think that you're going to be successful and you're going to have it's just not going to happen without adversity, and that comes from many different lights. Um, Discrimination being one of them. So you just have to understand what's going to come at you, and you have to respond in a way that it's going to be advantageous for you, and then also for for the legacy that you're leaving behind, and setting a good example.
How to rise above, how to be a better person and influence others through the journey you've taken, and to pay that forward and help others grow and learn from it as well.
Absolutely, and appreciate those who have come before you, who have been through much, greater adversity, much greater stress than you. So, I mean, you owe them as well.
The book, again, is called Hard Earned Lessons. It's available on Amazon. I really encourage everybody to go read it and check this out. Floyd, so great to hear your story today, and appreciate all you're doing to encourage so many people through your story and your journey. And I hope everybody goes out and gets a copy of it. Thank you for being on Operation American Dream today.
Amy, thank you and Operation American Dream for having the wherewithal to have me on the show. I'm really grateful and I appreciate it.
All the best to you. Thanks. We'll be back with more Operation American Dream.
We have a winner! Johnny, you won! You won!
Grandma?
There are certain times in life when you need a neutral third party to call the shots.
I know, but I wasn't ready. You hear me?
Keep it fair. Choose Oakwood Escrow.
Welcome back. VA homeownership is such an important topic that needs to be discussed over and over and over again, and I actually have one of the best experts in San Diego here, dear friend of mine who has been a mover and shaker in this platform, Lorraine Santirosa, and she's one of the agents for veterans, and I'm really happy to finally get you on the show. I've been wanting this for a while. Thank you.
Well, I'm so glad to be here, Amy.
So tell me, first of all, I know you were a military wife who just realized that buying a home was better than being a renter. What happened then?
We had just moved to Jacksonville. We had just gotten married. It was our first duty station. And we looked at renting, like you said, and realized buying was the much better way to go. So we didn't know anything about the VA home loan. Our lender and realtor kind of discouraged us, but we said, no, we're not going to put any money
Isn't
down.
that shocking?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
even just thinking back that that they discouraged you from
Yeah.
doing the VA home loan?
And it's because they don't really know and they don't want to deal with it. And to be honest, back then it was a little bit more challenging than it is now. Today we've come a long way with the VA home loan.
Incredible. And you were so excited about it that you started telling your friends in the military circle, right?
Right, because we couldn't believe that we bought a brand new house in Jacksonville. And when our friends came over and they saw it, they go, oh, wow, how did you do this? And we told them with the VA home loan, no money down. They looked into it. They didn't know they had the benefit themselves. And then they went ahead and bought homes. And that's when I realized.
You were like,
Yeah.
I'm going to help others.
Yes, because why have this benefit? Most military people or veterans know that about their health benefit, they know about the educational benefit, but when it comes to the VA home loan benefit, which is so important and can transform their lives, help them to build wealth, they know so little about, and it's really sad.
So tell me how that kick-started. So you went and got your license. You said, I need to do this.
Right.
And what happened after that? How did that grow from there?
I got my license while we were stationed in Monterey, California. And as
Beautiful.
you know, yes, and the price point isn't like what it is here in San Diego. It's a lot higher. I got my license and started working there, and I told my brokerage that I wanted to focus on the military community, and they all laughed at me. They said, well, military, they don't have any money to buy homes, so how are you going to do well in this business? But I persisted. And here I am today, 12 years later, still serving the military community, but I'm able to now provide all that experience to my clients in helping them make better decisions, because There are 22 million veterans nationwide, and there are just about 2 million active VA home loans. So that tells you the VA home loan is very underutilized by the community.
And that's startling because I feel like there is a lot more education out there about the VA loan, but I think it's still not reaching where it needs to reach, or maybe they are not knowing which questions to ask. And having an expert like you that's out there just day in, day out, a part of the military community saying, let me help educate you, I think is what's going to hopefully help those numbers to grow. Why do you feel that military families have a tendency to fear the home ownership? There seems to be sometimes that kind of blocking there.
Yeah, that's because the military lifestyle is very different from a civilian lifestyle. If you're a military family, you're looking to relocate every couple of years, right? As opposed to a civilian home. So with that movement, when they get those orders to move to a duty station, the spouse or the service member tends to look at, well, what are the housing options? What are the employment options? What's schooling like in that new place? So when it comes to housing, they really have three choices. They can either go and live in military base housing or rent out in town, or they can buy. Most choose the first option of going into military housing because it's easiest, even though they take their housing allowance, but they know that when they have to move in a couple of years, they haven't got to find a renter or sell the property. And it's a shame, really. Even though homeownership is not for everyone, those who do take that leap and look into the VA home loan benefit, they oftentimes see the benefit for their families, and it helps them to grow wealth.
Right, instead of taking the path of least resistance, it's like, well, this is easier, they're building more of a foundation and wealth through home ownership that can help them then when they're out of the military or even years later retiring. They can use the VA loan multiple times. And that's also a misconception that they think they can, right?
That's, like you said, one of the myths. The other myth is that they think they have to wait until they retire in order to use it. And it's a loan that, like you said, it can be used many times, and there's no money down. That's the other key factor. And so when a military family has to move around and they're looking at their housing options, they need to look at home ownership, especially here in San Diego where the rents are so high. Mortgages are almost similar now, so they really should look at that benefit and see how that can impact their families.
You've been like the literal engine of the train with Agents for Veterans, and I see you everywhere at every military event. You're giving back to the community, you're doing outreach, you're educating. What are some of the other things that as Agents for Veterans that you're doing? Are you also educating other agents so that they can step up and be as much of an advocate as you are?
Yes, in the past I've been a part of different organizations where we do that. We educate the real estate agent because we realize that the veteran is one piece of the puzzle, but so is the real estate agent, because so much has changed about the VA home loan, and it's so comparable to the other loans that are on the market today. In fact, it's the most powerful home loan when you put it up against conventional loan and FHA. It wins hands down, and it's a shame that it's not being utilized. So that's one of the things that we're doing. And as far as the educational piece goes as well, we want for our veterans to know that we understand them. We understand what the challenges that they go to. So when they come to us, we're about putting their interests first, educating them about the benefit, and then negotiating the best possible deal for them, whether they're buying a home or selling a home.
Well, you are a true expert, and I encourage anybody that wants more information to reach out to you because you know it hands down, and I recommend you highly and will continue to do so. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more Operation American Dream.
We have a winner! Johnny, you won! You won!
Grandma?
There are certain times in life when you need a neutral third party to call the shots.
I know, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't, you hear me?
Keep it fair. Choose Oakwood Escrow.
One of my absolute favorite guests from 2017 is a dynamo producer of a nonprofit organization, Silver Dove Productions, Michael Gier, who is here today because we're going to talk about an incredible documentary that he's doing on PTSD. Michael, thank you for coming back.
Oh, my pleasure. I had so much fun last time, and I appreciate you having me back.
Tell me, we are doing documentary.
Yes, we are. Silver Dove Films is a nonprofit organization, as you mentioned, and we produce things that have a positive message. We want to produce things that are going to change lives and make a positive impact in the viewer. And one of our projects is a film called Wounded Heroes. It's a feature film, and I was interviewing military brass like generals and colonels, veterans, doctors, and I was getting so much amazing information from these interviews that I thought, man, we have to do a documentary. And so the documentary kind of came secondary on accident, and the footage that we have so far is spectacular. And the veteran interviews that I've done so far blow you away. I mean, I can hardly hold back my tears, hearing their stories, seeing them in tears, talking about what they go through. And so with all this amazing footage, we decided to come up with an idea as far as what we can do with the documentary, how it can help change lives with our veteran community, more importantly, how it can save lives. And that's why I'm more excited about this project right now than anything. I still want to do the feature film, we will produce that, but right now my priority is the documentary because it will save lives. And that's what I'm very excited about.
This is about PTSD, which is, as you know, and have probably just discovered greatly, spans all wars. This is not a new topic just that we have in our today's culture. This expands all wars. And in Vietnam, I'm sure that this was extremely prevalent.
It goes all the way back to the Trojan Wars. And they had a different name for post-traumatic stress for each war. We now call it post-traumatic stress. It was post-traumatic stress disorder. There's been a big push to take off the D because veterans are like, we don't have a disorder. We have post-traumatic stress. So it's kind of going by post-traumatic stress right now. But every war has had a name for it. But the bottom line is what you experience at war is not natural. And so you do come home changed. And so one of the things we want to talk about is the history of post-traumatic stress so that veterans can see what they're experiencing after war when they come home is normal. They shouldn't feel weird about it or feel like there's something wrong with me.
Right.
There's not. They're experiencing something that is very normal. And that's why they should get help like any other person who has any issues they're dealing with. If I get sick, I go to see a doctor. They're naturally responding to something that is unnatural at war, and so they need to get help. And we're going to show that there are many treatments available, not just drugs. What happens is there are too many drugs being prescribed, as you
Our
probably
culture
know.
today is treating it incorrectly, and we're seeing just drastic effects from that.
Exactly. I interviewed a veteran. His name was Carl. Was on 18 drugs, which blew me away.
It's
How is it
mind-boggling.
possible? He's
Yeah.
now on 16. They lowered it too. Wow. But the problem also is that many of these drugs are black labeled, black box drugs, meaning they have serious side effects, suicide, depression. And if you look back, I had one of the doctors tell me that if you look back over the years and you see more and more drugs being prescribed to our veterans, you also see the suicide rate growing just as
Tremendously.
much. Because they're giving them drugs that by themselves, even as an individual drug, it has serious consequences like suicide. And so there may be a direct correlation between the two, which we want to kind of see if that's the case as we continue to interview people and bring that out with the documentary. And then there's also, I've learned with some of these interviews, and the interviews we're continuing to do, there are so many treatments out there without the use of drugs. So the reason I think it's going to save lives is because we have many veterans on drugs, and they're going to get excited about the fact that there are treatments that will help them to get off the drugs. And two, there are veterans out there who will not get help because they do not want to be drugged. So now we can say, you don't have to get drugged.
I've seen that.
There are treatments where you can now go and get help, a lot of different treatments, and that will also help them. That will lower the suicide rate, and that's why I'm excited.
Bringing an awareness to this is so important because you're exactly right. There are so many resources out there that can help keep them from being on the drugs in the first place. And this is an outstanding way to do it. I bet this has been a life-changing event for you putting this together and very eye-opening as you're presenting this documentary.
It has, because I'm not a military guy, and I did this project because I wanted to give back and do something for our veterans, and it's been very eye-opening as I've learned, and so now it's a passion of mine to do more to help our veterans. They served our country, they served us. Now it's time for us to do something to give back and help them, and I think this documentary is going to do that. It's going to give them hope. It's going to give them options other than drugs, and it's going to change their lives. So that's why I'm excited.
I've already seen before the passion that you have for doing this with other projects that you've done, and I know you've got your heart into this one, and it's going to be a huge success. Tell me, you guys are needing support for this as well. You're getting the word out and the awareness. You're looking for more people to contribute information for this.
It's always about finances, of course.
Yes.
We've done some filming. We have a lot more filming that we need to do. I've got to fly to Florida next month. there's just expenses involved, hiring DPs and sound people, and then my flighting and everything else. It just costs money. So yeah, we're looking for donations, grant money, foundation money, and it's all non-profit, so it's tax deductible.
Well, and it's going to save lives. Bottom line, this is a project that's going to save lives.
Yeah.
Real quick, Michael, just so that everybody knows as well, you're not just somebody coming out of the woodwork here. You've been involved in the entertainment industry for a long time, and you know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
You've had incredible experience as an entertainer, as a dancer, as an actor, as a film producer. Give me just a couple really quick highlights of what you've done.
Well, I was lucky to make a living as an entertainer most of my life, and I've done a lot of different things on television, film, and right now I just work as an actor in television and film projects, and then I'm also got my production company. We produce and I direct behind the scenes now as well. And I love it, and I want to use it to change lives. That's what this documentary is going to do. And
I know it's going to make a difference. Thank you for being on again today, Michael. Best of luck. Please keep us posted. We want to support this.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be back with more Operation American Dream. Later last year, I had the privilege of meeting Dr. Clint Pearman, who is the expert in brain injury. And when we talk about PTSD and the effects that it has, brain injury is a huge part of that. And Dr. Clint Pearman is out there making a difference and educating people. So I wanted us to take a look at that again and throw back to a prior segment. Let's check it out. Hi, welcome back to Operation American Dream. I'm your co-host today, Amy Scruggs. Very special guest right now. I've got Clint Pearman, PhD. And he is a brain injury specialist and regional educational director. I would like to get it right over to you, Mr. Pearman. We've met several times, and I love what you have to share and what you're doing to make a difference in the lives of our heroes and anybody who needs to know about brain injury. But I'd like to get right to it. Tell me about your background a little bit as well first.
Perfect. I spent about 31 and a half years in the Marine Corps, joined right after high school, and did a whole bunch of fun things for the next 31 years, got out, and in my new life, I am now the Regional Education Coordinator for the Defense and Veterans Brain Injury Center. In a nutshell, when you wonder what is the Defense and Veterans Brain Injury Center, we're the brain injury component of the Defense Centers of Excellence for Psychological Health and Traumatic Brain Injury. So that's a DOD underneath the Defense Health Agency organization. I always have to stipulate that because sometimes people wonder, well, are you a non-profit organization or a private company? No, we're a DOD operation, and we specialize in traumatic brain injuries. So whenever you hear the term traumatic brain injury, you should think, we want you to think DVBIC, Defense and Veterans Brain Injury Center, basically made up into three components. We have a research component with really amazing researchers all around the country doing research in the traumatic brain injury area. We have a clinical component. Those are the clinical people that actually treat and help service members. And then the education component, and I work in the education component as the Regional Education Coordinator. I provide traumatic brain injury education, training, and resources for everyone from the medical personnel, doctors, nurses, corpsmen, medics in the military, and the VA, all the way down to service members, veterans, families, and the civilian community.
So important.
Yes.
It is so important. Tell us, what is the brain injury and concussion that most people don't realize? What you're doing is so critical and amazing. So let us know real quick, what is that difference?
Absolutely, and I like to start by saying it's a hidden injury, and it's more prominent than people are aware of. So when you hear the term traumatic brain injury, what you want to think about is your brain sits inside your skull. And when your head hits something or something hits you in the head, your brain has a tendency to rattle around inside your skull. It can bounce up against the inside of your skull, ricochet and bounce backwards, and get bruised or a little damaged. That's a traumatic brain injury. Some of the things that help you take that a little deeper is three components. If you hit your head or you suffer a jolt or blow to the body hard enough to cause your brain to rattle around in your skull or smash up against the inside, and you lose consciousness. If you lose consciousness, that's a traumatic brain injury. Now, I should add, traumatic brain injuries come in 4 levels: mild, moderate, severe, and penetrating. The mild version is also known as a concussion. So depending on how hard you actually hit your head will determine at the time of the injury whether it's mild, moderate, severe, or penetrating. So if you hit your head and you lose consciousness, you had a traumatic brain injury. Or alteration of consciousness. You hit your head or blow a jolt to the body and you're dazed, confused, disoriented. Like we say in the Marine Corps, you got your bell rung. That's a concussion. Those are symptoms. Or post-traumatic amnesia. You can't remember what happened right before, or you can't remember what happened right after that blow or jolt to the body or head. That essentially is how we describe or define a traumatic brain injury.
That's incredible. I lectured my boys after I saw you speak. It was awesome. What should somebody do if they think that this has happened to them?
Great question. In the military, what they have to do is a part of policy. So if you're in the military, you have a requirement. If you experience a potential, and you notice the word potential, concussive event, you're required to get a mandatory medical evaluation. In the civilian world, if it was me and I suffered a potential concussive event, I'm going to the doctor.
Right.
It's pretty simple. I don't want to play with my brain because everything about me emanates out of what my brain is doing. And if it's damaged, you may think just because you've had a mild brain injury that you're okay. But sometimes the symptoms can evolve over 2, 3, 4, 6 hours, 24 hours, before you realize this was a situation I should have went to the doctors. But I also should add this. In the case of the mild traumatic brain injury, we expect you to be okay. So even though it's a traumatic brain injury, in the case of the mild version, we expect you to be okay within minutes to hours, sometimes days. Some people will take weeks. The majority of people will recover within weeks from a mild traumatic brain injury.
Wow. And veterans need to go to their VA to get it checked out right away, correct?
Veterans should go to the doctor, yes. Either the VA or if they're seeing a private doctor, some medical person that's familiar with traumatic brain injuries. And if they're not, they should contact DVBIC in the local area to get a training on what they need to know about traumatic brain injuries.
That's fantastic. It's incredible information. I know that all our viewers are going to want to go check out more information, their website that they can go to.
Absolutely. It is the Defense and If you Googled DVBIC, DVBIC, Defense and Veterans Brain Injury Center, our website will come up.
I encourage everybody to do that. Clint, I can't thank you enough for the great work that you're doing and being a voice out there for everybody on brain injury. I'm going to look up more information even for my own kids. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back with more Operation American Dream.
We have a winner! Johnny, you won! You won!
Grandma?
There are certain times in life when you need a neutral third party to call the shots.
I know, but I wasn't ready. You hear me?
Keep it fair. Choose Oakwood Escrow.
As always, we have such a great lineup of guests that come onto this show. It's always fun for me to meet incredible people and have great, incredible people that come back for another round. Don't forget to follow us on the Operation American Dream YouTube channel. You can watch past episodes, you can watch this episode, and you can share it with your friends. And stay tuned for all the great things that are ahead for Operation American Dream.